Hey there everyone, welcome back. This is the quarterfinal match of the Hearthstone Southeast Asia Legends Series number 8, hosted by ESL and casted by myself, Spell Ruler. This is Fizdarth versus WaningMoon. We've seen WaningMoon in the previous series making some clutch victories there against his opponent, but now made it 3-1 and now is facing off against Fizdarth, who is playing Warrior, so I'm kind of expecting a long, drawn-out game here, so we're going to see how that one turns out. So, WaningMoon starting off with a Shade of Nox Ramus, play Fizdarth with fairly early Armor Smith, so that's going to benefit him in the long run. The longer he keeps that thing alive, the more armor it, of course, generates for him. Like if he gets a Death Bite passive off if he has a lot of minions, that of course is really beneficial as well. Fizdarth now taking his time on how he wants to play this out. He could actually Cruel Taskmaster his own Armor Smith. He will gain some armor from that one, but it will also make his Armor Smith a 33, which will make it a little bit harder to take care of. And now WaningMoon kind of has to sacrifice his Shade of Nox Ramus to trade off with that Armor Smith. Otherwise, he's going to take a lot more damage than that came from. Unless, of course, Keeper of the Grove is coming into play and will silence that Armor Smith.
I must safeguard the land.
So WaningMoon actually not attacking, leaving the Shade as it is right now. Probably just wants to make it stronger and stronger. Fizdarth equipping into his weapon. Of course, the Armor Smith not gaining any armor for Fizdarth anymore. So Fizdarth just on the offensive here. WaningMoon now dropped to 24, but that Shade still growing stronger and stronger by the turn. Now Emperor Thorason being played fairly early on, but probably because he doesn't really have anything else to play at this point. And I guess having the Force of Nature being cheaper later on is pretty beneficial, and especially since he has the combo already. He has the Force of Nature Savage Roar combo. So let's take a quick look. So that's 7 mana, which it costs in total. So if he draws into another Savage Roar, then it's 10 mana in total. So he can bust out triple Treants and do double Savage Roar, and that will give all the characters 4 attack that turn. So that will be let's see if my math is right here. That will be just 16 damage just from the Savage Roar alone, plus the Treants for 24. So that's quite a lot, especially since Fizdarth is already sitting at that 24 at that point. Shield Maiden now being dropped as well. And still Fizdarth going on the offensive here. WaningMoon probably going to swipe away that Shield Maiden, and not too sure if he's actually going to shapeshift to take care of it. Is going to take a lot of punishment from that, but is going to do it nevertheless. But WaningMoon has to kill off Fizdarth in one go, because Fizdarth does have a Brawl available for play here. And if WaningMoon doesn't finish off Fizdarth in one turn, then the Brawl next turn is going to make short work of everything on the field. So Fizdarth actually going with the early Brawl, and the weakest Shade of Nox Ramus actually remaining on the field. So a little bit sad for WaningMoon, but also pretty happy, I guess, that his minion was the only one left standing. And now WaningMoon hovering between Sludge Belcher or Druid of the Claw. I think Sludge Belcher might be a little bit of a better play here, but WaningMoon just on the aggressive here. Doesn't think that Fizdarth has anything to stop him at this point. And I think WaningMoon is just counting down the damage he needs to do. Fizdarth now with his own Sludge Belcher has to play that one or the Shield Maiden if he wants to survive. Shield's now going to be dropped to kill off that kitty cat as well. Of course, if he had chosen to be a bear at that time, he would have actually survived. So now WaningMoon with his own Sludge Belcher. And WaningMoon is actually running a little bit behind on cards at this point. So has about 7 damage on the board if he does drop that Sludge Belcher. And just wants to wait it off. As I said, he wants to kill off Fizdarth in one go. But Fizdarth has a couple of ways to prevent that. Most importantly, the Sludge Belcher is going to be a huge roadblock for WaningMoon to get over, unless WaningMoon draws into a Druid of the Claw, or excuse me, not Druid of the Claw, Keeper of the Grove, or an Ironbeak Owl. And even then, I think Ironbeak Owl would be perfect at this point, but I don't think that WaningMoon can actually inflict the 27 damage that is needed. And probably going to be 29 next turn, as I expect Fizdarth to armor up. But actually, WaningMoon does reveal his Shade here, and the Execute now being drawn. The little slime does fall. Sludge Belcher dropped. Fiery War Axe being equipped, and is going to attack into that slime. And Shield Maiden still up, but that is going to fall pretty soon. Now WaningMoon not drawing the cards he needs, pulls a Ragnaros the Fire Lord, but with that Execute in Fizdarth's hand, he isn't too worried about that. So he will be able to take care of that one quite soon, but WaningMoon just wants to drop Fizdarth to lethal range here. So it's going to use that Shade of Noxramas to attack into the Sludge Belcher, attack with his own damage to take care of that one. But unfortunately for WaningMoon, Ragnar was launching its fireball into the little slime. Didn't really care about that Shield Maiden that was fully armored up and ready to be molten into a pile of scrap. And now Fizdarth is actually in a pretty good position, as he is the one who is sitting on these high value minions. So looking at Fizdarth's possibilities here, he probably wants to attack with the Fiery War Axe into the Shade of Noxramas. He will take a little bit of damage from that one, not if he armors up, of course. Will take a little bit less. Then attack with the Shield Maiden into the Ragnaros and execute that one. And he'll still have 8 mana left, so he can either play the Sludge Belcher or the Dr. Boom or the Gromash. I would personally go for the Sludge Belcher because there's always a chance that WaningMoon might pull off some crazy combo. So Dr. Boom going to be the card of choice here. Armor Up coming in as well, and Fizdarth taking a huge risk here, as WaningMoon is probably just going to try and go for game here. So here's the thing. This is what WaningMoon can do. Force of Nature, Savage Roar, that will buff, that will give him 4 treants and buff himself up to a 2. And I think he just has to bank on Ragnaros finishing it off. So he's just calculating, okay, what's the most optimal way that I can do this? Because if he doesn't, then he's going to lose next turn anyways.
Time waits for no one.
So it looks like he is going to go for hit Savage Roar activated, but he is going to do it a little bit differently. He's going to clear out the board here. So it's going to keep his Ragnaros here. I would have probably banked on. I would have probably banked on a 1-in-4 victory instead, but hey, I'm a risk taker. WaningMoon probably a little bit more calculated than that. So now Fizdarth with the shield block draws into an Acolyte of Pain and pretty much has to attack with his Boombot and then execute it. So Sludge Belcher now being dropped. Execute for Fizdarth. And WaningMoon should have seen this coming. I would have probably just hoped on like RNG victory if I were him, because now this Sludge Belcher is so hard to come over, especially with Druid of the Claw now being pulled, the only realistic card that he can play. He can play the Harrison Jones if he wants to, and he can set up a board, but still, it is so hard to get over that Sludge Belcher with those two cards.
Where shall I strike?
WaningMoon deciding to shapeshift does the 1 damage to the Sludge Belcher, making sure that it will fall if it attacks into the Druid of the Claw. Now Fizdarth is just gonna draw some more cards here. Cruel Taskmaster, and now he has his combo Grommash Hellscream into Cruel Taskmaster. Acolyte of Pain being dropped as well. Cruel Taskmaster, is he gonna drop it though to buff his Acolyte? Seems like he is. Draws a card. Kazan Mystic, no secrets to be stolen away from Druid, but still, as a vanilla 4/3, it's not the worst in the world. And WaningMoon now with the swipe has to make a conscious choice on whether he wants to give Fizdarth 1 or 2 cards. He's probably going to go for the 1 card just by swiping away the Acolyte at this point. Now back to Fizdarth with an Emperor Thaurissan. At the end of your turn, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1. Of course, it doesn't really matter at this point, as I feel Emperor Thaurissan is more of an early game card, if anything. So taking a quick look at the brackets, the first semifinal between Purushan and Wuffle hasn't been concluded just yet, and the winner of this best of 5 will be facing off against Staz. And now WaningMoon only sitting at 2 hit points, nothing that he can do. He knows that he has lost. Concedes, and Fizdarth will be running away with the first game in this best of 5. So we'll be setting up game 2 for you as fast as possible. In the meantime, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game 2 between Fizdarth and WaningMoon.
Let the hunt begin for Doomhammer. Job's done.
Welcome back. This is game 2 between Fizdarth and WaningMoon in the Blizzard Hearthstone Southeast Asia Legends Series number 8. I'm still Spell Ruler, tournament hosted by ESL. Fizdarth versus WaningMoon. We just see Fizdarth winning the previous game, playing Warrior versus Druid. Now both players switching up classes. Fizdarth now with Shaman, and WaningMoon playing Hunter. So expect a little bit of a higher paced game here. Now Fizdarth with a Haunted Creeper out on the field. WaningMoon playing Zoo as far as I can see. Arcane Golem, Quick Shot, Unleash the Hounds. Just wants to drop Fizdarth to as low as possible. Now Fizdarth does have a Feral Spirit in his hand, and that's going to stop WaningMoon in his tracks, if only a little bit.
There's little time.
So time is running out for Fizdarth. Kind of wondering what's taking him. He's hovering over his cards, but it's just gonna go for direct attack. So taking a long time, but only thing that Fizdarth really did was attack with the Haunted Creeper and put out double Spirit Wolves. And now WaningMoon has to find a way to get over that. I don't think he's actually going to play Unleash the Hounds at this point. Now WaningMoon, Eaglehorn Bow, no secret to back it up with, but looks like he has to sacrifice everything he has just to get rid of those Spirit Wolves.
Quickly.
So WaningMoon will still have 1 durability on his weapon, but secret now being pulled out. Explosive Trap. Whenever your hero is attacked, deal 2 damage to all minions. So he's probably pretty happy about that one. Fizdarth has 2 options here. He can play the Flame Tongue Totem or bring out the Totemic Call. Either of those wouldn't be the greatest play at this point, though, because if he runs into WaningMoon, then everything will blow up. So Fizdarth has to take a chance at this one because he doesn't know that it's Explosive Trap. It could be Freezing Trap, but if he suspects it's Explosive Trap, then Fizdarth could just keep summoning totems until he gets the Healing Totem. Looks like he is gonna go for that one. Does get the Healing Totem, passes up his turn, and is just probably gonna do that for the next turn as well until he can play that Flame Tongue Totem. So Abusive Sergeant plus Unleash the Hounds now coming in. Not too sure why he went for that play this early on, but it's gonna bring out as much as possible, trying to get rid of everything on the field. And actually it's just gonna go and attack straight up. And Fizdarth now with the Flame Tongue Totem still on the still in his hand, and that secret's still in WaningMoon's field there. I feel that Fizdarth is sitting at a better position, or sitting at a good position, but not great. And he needs to find a way to buff up his minions, which he does have in the form of Defender of Argus. So he can buff up his minions, prevent them from dying from the explosive trap, and they'll be healed up next at the end of the turn as well. So I feel that Defender of Argus would be the best play for Fizdarth at this point.
My shield for Argus.
So is going to go for Defender of Argus play, not attacking into that one. And now Fizdarth pretty much knows that, okay, this is more than likely explosive trap, because freezing trap would have already triggered
To my side.
at this point. So now WaningMoon playing the Animal Companion, gets a Leok for that one and attacks, and Secret's still not triggered, so Fizdarth playing extremely conservative, just taking out the minions one by one. And this has been a pretty slow game, but WaningMoon in the lead so far as health goes, but Fizdarth has more cards in his hand, so but that explosive trap is troubling Fizdarth a lot. He might want to bring out Totemic Call as well, hope that he gets a healing totem.
What to do?
So anyways, Fire Elemental taking care of the Leok, 2 Spectral Spiders remaining. Spectral Spider's going to take care of the Haunted Creeper. And now the Arcane Golem and the Wolf Rider coming in. Looks like WaningMoon is going straight for damage here. And Fizdarth has to take care of that one as well. But then again, does have the means to get rid of that one. Explosive Trap still not going to trigger for quite some time, but Fizdarth, at one point, he has to trigger the trap. So I feel that at this point, Fizdarth has to attack the Arcane Golem with his Defender of Argus, and then attack the Wolf Rider with the Spider, and then just attack with the Fire Elemental. Like, he has to trigger the trap at one point. And I really feel that there's no way around it. One thing that Fizdarth might do is like just bring out the Dr. Boom, let the trap trigger, and let the boom bots do guaranteed damage on WaningMoon, because he needs to get back into this game a little bit. So is gonna let that trap finally trigger, explosive trap revealing itself, and now the 6 damage is gonna land from the Fire Elemental. Dr. Boom being played as well, and WaningMoon doesn't really have too much to get over this. Unleash the Hounds. So let me just do a quick look at how much damage he can do. 7 damage plus the 3 from Quick Shot plus 2 from Steady Shot. I think that is 12 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that is 12 damage. I don't think he has lethal unless he draws a card now that does damage. So Quick Shot coming in. Leper Gnome being pulled here and played. So Fizdarth has to make game next turn. Steady Shot coming across as well, shooting Fizdarth down. Only 7 more damage left on the board for WaningMoon. WaningMoon miscalculating a little bit here. And now Fizdarth only sitting at 4 health, can't heal himself. Next turn is going to take damage regardless. From the Leper Gnome, from the Steady Shot, from the Eagle Horn Bow. Neptulon not being able to save him at this point as well. I don't think that even a Taunt Totem
will be able to save him at this point, because WaningMoon can just attack it with his Eagle Horn Bow and let the Leper Gnome and a Steady Shot do the rest. So Fizdarth, I think he's just gonna like try and do as much damage as possible. I'd be surprised if he actually did have game here. Goes for 3 damage, goes for another 3 and 11. And Lava Shock will do another 2, and I think he's just hoping that the Boombot will do 4 damage. It might just do it. No, only 2. And I haven't even thought of that play. Great play by Fizdarth, but there was so much RNG involved into that play that there was such a small chance that he would have been able to pull off. If he did, that would have been a legendary play. But WaningMoon will sneak away with the win, tying up the score 1-1. Now we will set up game 3 for you as fast as possible, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Hearthstone action.
Jaina!
You asked for it.
For Doomhammer.
Hey there everyone, welcome back. This is game 3 between Fizdarth and WaningMoon. Fizdarth still playing Shaman, WaningMoon now playing Mage, so let's see how that one is going to go for both of these players. Let's take a quick look at what WaningMoon is dealing with. Arcane Intellect, Alexstrasza, Explosive Sheep, Pyroblast, and a Blizzard. So thank you so much, Hearthstone Client, for showing me every individual card, I guess. So WaningMoon starting things off with an Arcane Intellect after doing 1 damage to Fizdarth. Fizdarth doing a little bit of damage, trying to hit WaningMoon. So the goal for Fizdarth is to just try and bring WaningMoon down as fast as possible before he can actually get anything off. WaningMoon just wants to set up defensively and kill Fizdarth slowly but surely.
So sorry about that. Small distraction there. But anyways, Fizdarth now summoning a totem, has a Searing Totem and a Haunted Creeper. And as I said, Fizdarth wants to do inflict as much damage as possible here. WaningMoon doesn't really have a lot to stop that damage coming in because Blizzard not live for a while. Explosive Sheep is going to be live in a little bit. Earthshock is actually going to help Fizdarth quite a bit at this point, as Mad Scientist will prevent a secret being placed on the board. But WaningMoon drawing into a Frost Nova here will help him later on. So now WaningMoon just has to dig through his deck until he can grab his secrets.
I wonder.
Now WaningMoon does bring out the Azure Drake, not doing anything else. Now Fizdarth can play that Flametongue Totem. Hex also would be beneficial to get rid of that Azure Drake to prevent the spell damage from coming in, as that is essentially what WaningMoon is gunning for. So Flametongue Totem does come across Fizdarth, sacrificing a little bit of his resources here. WaningMoon now dropped to 26. Archmage Antonidas, another crucial combo piece being drawn by WaningMoon, but WaningMoon still doesn't have a solid way to get rid of everything on the field. I mean, I guess he could summon an Explosive Sheep and kill it on his own, and that would get rid of the Healing Totem and the Spectral Spider, but the Flametongue Totem would still remain.
I wonder.
So Fire Blast now coming in. WaningMoon does decide to make that play. Loot Hoarder played as well, just for the extra damage coming in. I'm not too sure why WaningMoon would play Loot Hoarder over over the 1/1, but I feel that maybe he wants to get some extra damage, and because every single point of damage does count once you're playing Frost Mage. Like sometimes you do have to have like clutch calculations and like be really close to your intended number, as we've seen in a previous game where it wasn't WaningMoon, but I think it was one of his earlier opponents had to pretty much precisely calculate how much damage he could do and only could do it one way. Lava Shock coming in to get rid of that Loot Hoarder pretty early on. Quite a large sacrifice as well, because he didn't have any overloaded mana crystals, if I'm not mistaken. Ice Lance now being drawn by WaningMoon. Fire Blast taking care of that Flametongue Totem. Acolyte of Pain being dropped on the board as well. At least that's what WaningMoon is gunning for, it seems, just to draw some extra cards. Well, as I said, WaningMoon just wants to draw cards. Nothing more, nothing less, because Fizdarth is, if he doesn't have a way to destroy WaningMoon like really fast, then WaningMoon can just start to whittle down Fizdarth with fireballs and with spells, and especially with Archmage Antonidas already being in his hand, he can do some pretty interesting stuff with that. Totem Call brought out by Fizdarth. Lightning Storm early on, but I guess it's warranted because knowing that what deck WaningMoon plays, he probably does not really care about anything that WaningMoon plays. Like the biggest minion that WaningMoon might play is the Alexstrasza, and he can just hex that later on if needed. WaningMoon looks like he's going for an early Archmage Antonidas here. He was thinking about it, but bring out the Archmage Antonidas that early leaves it open for the Hex coming in.
require my assistance?
So Ice Lance coming in just to get that spell coming in, but I don't think that this has been a good decision from Waning Moon, especially since Fizdarth can now just hex that Archmage Antonidas and Rockbiter weapon to take care of it.
I bring life.
So Waning Moon, having lost his Archmage Antonidas, drops the Alexstrasza, bumping down Fizdarth to 15 hit points. Let's take a quick look at how much damage he can do in total. So it has double Fireball for 12 damage, and Frostbolt for the 3. So unless Fizdarth actually heals himself up this turn, then Waning Moon will have lethal next turn. Waning Moon is just hoping that Fizdarth doesn't have anything to heal himself up. I wouldn't even be too sure how he would heal himself up. Big Game Hunter shooting down the Alexstrasza, but it doesn't even matter at this point, because double Fireball for 12 and Frostbolt for 3 is going to be more than enough to take down Fizdarth. Now, Rope is coming in, Coin being used for whatever purposes, but Waning Moon is just waiting for the Rope to expire and to win this game. Coin, Flame Tongue coming in to buff up his minions there, but again, doesn't really matter. Doomsayer being pulled by Waning Moon, he doesn't care about that. First Fireball will land for 6 damage, second Fireball will drop as well, and another Frostbolt for 3 damage will give Waning Moon the victory, and now making the score 2-1. So congratulations to Waning Moon, only 1 game away from moving to the semifinals. We'll be bringing you that one shortly. In the meantime, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Game 4 between Fizdarth and Waning Moon.
Thrall versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild. For Doomhammer.
Hey there everyone, welcome back. This is Game 4 between Fizdarth and Waning Moon. Fizdarth still playing Shaman, Waning Moon now switching over to Druid, so we're going to see how that is going to turn out. Waning Moon only 1 game away from moving towards the semifinals. Now Fizdarth, starting off with a Zombie Chow, has a Wrath of Air Totem, would probably prefer a different one. Kind of surprised he didn't coin into Feral Spirit, but regardless. Now Waning Moon doesn't really have a lot to play here, just hitting that Wrath of Air Tone. Now Feral Spirit is going to be a little bit of a hindrance. for Waning Moon. And Fizdarth will be able to start laying down the pain on Waning Moon. Swipe not going to be able to help out as well unless he swipes one of those wolves. It will get rid of the Wrath of Air totem at the very least, but it's going to take a lot of damage next turn as the Flame Tongue totem is more than likely to come out with the 2 mana. Well, actually is going to go for a Totemic Call here. I'm surprised he didn't use the Flame Tongue totem just to do as much damage as possible here. Now Waning Moon has that Innervate in his hand. Second swipe available, but it's more than likely not going to swipe that board unless unless he had 6 mana. Then he could have swiped and shapeshifted to kill the Zombie Chow and regain a little bit of health.
What to do? Where shall I strike?
So Waning Moon bring out that Druid of the Claw here. Let's see what Fizdarth can respond with. Draws into a Lava Shock a little bit too late here.
I wonder.
Flame Tongue Totem might be able to help out. So let's see here, 2 damage. So one thing that Fizdarth can do is he can put that Flame Tongue Totem between the Searing Totem and the Spirit Wolf, and then Rockbiter Weapon the Searing Totem to give it enough damage to get rid of that Druid of the Claw, and place that second Totemic Totem or second Stoneclaw Totem to make sure that it does get damage buff after the 6/1 totem and dies. So now Waning Moon, only sitting at 18 health, needs to take care of the rest of the board. Swipes away yet again, and looks like he does have to shapeshift and attack into this one. Fire Elemental going to be the likely play here for Fizdarth at this point.
I wonder.
Now Fizdarth brings out another totem for himself. It essentially still has 5 mana left. Defender of Argus coming out. He does not want that Zombie Chow to die anytime soon.
My shield for Argus.
So another 4 damage landing onto Waning Moon, who's only sitting at 13 at this point. Lava Shock Fire Elemental will be able to do a good amount of 5 damage. Waning Moon now dropping the Emperor Florison and passing over turn. So next turn he can bring out the big guns here for a little bit cheaper. Here Harrison Jones only costing 4 mana. Sylvan's Windrunner only costing 5, but Fizdarth is just going to go on to the aggressive here because I think he does have lethal here with the Lava Shock coming in. And Fire Elemental also doing the trick here. Fizdarth forcing it to a game 5 in this best of 5. So we are all tied up now 2-2. So we're heading into the last game between Fizdarth and Waning Moon. We're going to try and bring you that one as fast as possible, as I'm just waiting for the invite from Fizdarth. And just to give you a quick update on the brackets here, Woofle is our first finalist. So the winner of this match will be facing off against Staz in the semifinals, and the winner of that match will be facing off against Woofle in the final. So looking forward to that one. So welcome back here. This is the last game between Fizdarth and WaningMoon. The winner of this one will be moving on towards the semifinals. Excuse me. So Fizdarth playing Warlock, WaningMoon playing Druid. Fizdarth deciding to tap. Doesn't have a lot of proper cards here. Double Anti-Healbot, double Shadow Flame, a Dark Bomb. Harrison Jones on Sylvanas Windrunner and Low-Feb. So nothing really that can get his him going, so to speak. You know, WaningMoon is just slowly whittling away on Fizdarth. Twilight Drake going to be the likely play for him. Zombie Chow is going to be a little bit detrimental because Fizdarth will be able to heal himself back up with that one. Unless, of course, WaningMoon manages to keep it alive somehow. So now, WaningMoon did decide to use the coin, and he can innervate for an Ancient of Lore, or he could just sit on the Druid of the Claw at this point. I would probably go for a Druid of the Claw myself, and then maybe innervate next turn. But WaningMoon says, I'll just bring out the 5/10 and it will be okay. And Fizdarth top decking a Black Knight that he can't do too much with at this point.
I wonder.
So now Fizdarth has to consider his options here. Anti-Healbot not going to work out too well. Neither is Shadow Flame, because it will, because even if he Shadow Flames after attacking with the Twilight Drake, that Ancient of War is still going to stand. It's still going to inflict its damage, and next turn Fizdarth will suffer a lot more damage as well. He will get rid of the Zombie Chow, so it will bump him back up to 25 in that aspect, but it's going to go for an Anti-Healbot play instead, leaving that Twilight Drake be for now.
Where shall I strike?
So now WaningMoon with that Druid of the Claw set up defensively. Both Taunters on the field. Nothing big yet for Fizdarth to play and combo off with that Shadow Flame. So Black Knight is just going to come out and take care of that Ancient of War. And it looks like Fizdarth still has the momentum in this one. WaningMoon can bring out the Keeper of the Grove and silence that Twilight Drake and just hit it for 1 damage then. It looks like he is going to do just that. So now WaningMoon has a stronger board here, but Fizdarth has been surviving, and that's the most important thing, because he has an Anti-Healbot to even buff him up later. He can, if he draws into something like a giant, if he draws into a mountain giant, it's going to be extremely beneficial for him now. And we can't forget, like, he's sitting at 30 health right now, and he has card advantage over, or hand advantage over WaningMoon, not card advantage. So Fizdarth is considering playing the Harrison Jones at this point.
That belongs in a museum.
Job's done.
So now
Many
WaningMoon considering his options. Ancient of Lore was used to draw 2 cards, got himself the Wrath and Keeper of the Grove. Fizdarth still standing with the Harrison Jones, but still no Giants being pulled here. So with that said, nothing to taunt
And Fizdarth is kind of like struggling to put out his giants. It also doesn't have like massive board clear, because usually you'll combo off like a cheap giant with a Shadow Flame, but instead Fizdarth has just been trading equally or not as effective as he would want to. So Lofab gonna come out for Fizdarth, but the only two spells affected are the Wrath and the Force of Nature. And WaningMoon didn't really have lethal to begin with, so it doesn't really matter too much.
What to do?
WaningMoon
I must
using that Keeper of the Groves, killing off the Harrison Jones, Piloted Shredder being dropped as well. It seems like WaningMoon just wants to establish a board and wait until he gets to draw his Savage Roar that he can combo it off with his Force of Nature. But Fizdarth, he's just not dropping any or like any significant hit points. Like usually at this point in the war, the Warlock would usually be sitting around 15 health and have a lot of giants out on the field, or at least not have these cards in his hand.
I have no time for games.
So Fizdarth now coming out with Sylvanas Windrunner, Sunfury Protector to protect that as well. So now WaningMoon has to find a way to get rid of that Sylvanas Windrunner without triggering its Death Rattle effect, or at the very least let its Death Rattle effect trigger but not have it take anything of value.
What?
And I think that WaningMoon wants, at the very least, wants his Piloted Shredder to not fall in the hands of Fizdarth. There's also no way for WaningMoon to silence that Sylvanas Windrunner as well. So let's see how this is going to turn out, because WaningMoon, that Sylvanas has given him a little bit of trouble. Now, unless WaningMoon like gets a 2-drop, that's really detrimental. He wouldn't mind giving that. Actually, Mech Warper being dropped there. I haven't seen mechs in a long time, actually. Like now that I think about it, really, like it's not that WaningMoon plays mechs in his deck, but like seeing that Mech Warper, I haven't seen mechs at all in this tournament. The only mechs I've like, or at least a dedicated mech deck, the only mechs I've seen is like the staple 4/3 Piloted Shredder, which Fizdarth still has a copy of. WaningMoon drawing 2 cards, and that is going to be Druid of the Claw and Ancient of War. Wrath being used to snipe down that Mech Warper, just in case Fizdarth had a mech in hand, which he had 2 of, the Anti-Keelbot and the Piloted Shredder. So Emperor Phorasan now being busted out. Piloted Shredder as well. Fizdarth going to go on the offensive here. And cheaper Shadow Flame is definitely very beneficial for Fizdarth, as he has a little bit of a cheaper way to clear out the board. He can do it a little bit earlier. Doesn't have to wait until he hits like a certain health benchmark or card benchmark till he can summon a Golem. So now WaningMoon with double Sludge Belcher out on the field is going to be a little bit of trouble for Fizdarth to get over. And not even a Shadow Flame will be able to save him. Actually, one thing that Fizdarth can do is attack the Sludge Belchers with his Zombie Chow and his Sunfear Protector. Get them low, then the Piloted Shredder. Use the Shadow Flame to, or actually keep the Piloted Shredder. Use the Shadow Flame to destroy the Piloted Shredder and the double Sludge Belchers. I feel that would be an appropriate play for him. But it's going to do a little bit differently. Wow. Gets a Sorcerer's Apprentice. Spells cost less at this point. So Mortal Coil going to be flung out as well. And now Fizdarth actually really lucky that he got that Apprentice there. Because now you can attack with his other minions. And Sludge Belcher has to take care of that Sorcerer's Apprentice. Or else Fizdarth is going to generate more advantage from that. Now, WaningMoon, his turn, has a Dr. Boom in hand now, but still has to find a way to get through this board of Fizdarth. I'm kind of looking at a way that he might be able to take care of that one. So, Black Knight to take care of the Urban Ring Farseer, which is essentially free. And then one thing that he can do is attack with the Sludge Belcher into the Zombie Chow and Shapeshift. And he won't lose too much health because the Zombie Chow Death Rattle effect will trigger, of course, giving him another 5 health back. So, like, I think net he won't lose that much. Dr. Boom going to be played instead as a little bit of an aggressive play here. And I think that Fizdarth might just want to look into wiping out, or WaningMoon might just look into wiping out everything in one go with his combo there. So Shadow Flame is going to come out, wiping out everything, or most of the board here. Boombot's not doing too much. Defender of Argus being the only card to really fall here. It looks like Fizdarth is going to sacrifice, or was looking to sacrifice Sorcerer's Apprentice, but decides against the Big Game Hunter to shoot down Dr. Boom. So great play there by Fizdarth, wiping out the board and still being at a relatively high health amount, and still has a decently good established board. Now WaningMoon has his own combo pieces here, but still both players kind of equal on cards here. 10 cards for WaningMoon, 9 cards for Fizdarth. I still haven't seen a Golem in Fizdarth's deck. I'm pretty sure he's playing them. I would be surprised if he's not. So WaningMoon going to go ahead with the X's mana here, trying to draw something useful. Draws into a Scenarius, but can't play that because, of course, because the Wild Growth did cost him 2 mana. Zombie Chow will heal WaningMoon back up to 24. And getting rid of that Sorcerer's Apprentice, making sure that Fizdarth doesn't get too much benefit from that one. And Fizdarth has the Lord Jaraxxus in hand, but I feel like he doesn't want to play it just yet because, of course, WaningMoon could always have that lethal combo in his hand. That is good for about 12 damage, or 14, excuse me. So it's kind of a slow game, but also kind of a weird game because neither player really is doing too much. They're just trying to clear out the board, and I feel that both players aren't really playing to win. I feel that both players are playing to not die at this point, which makes sense, I guess, considering that how the game's tempo has been going. Like Fizdarth hasn't really drawn any like big cards, and WaningMoon's just like kind of waiting and taking the damage here and there. Now Waning Moon hovering over the Wrath. Of course, the Wrath, if he used the 1 damage, that would give him another card. But we're slowly heading into the fatigue points of the game here, and I feel that Fizdarth will have a little bit of a better board here, especially since he can still play around with like Shadow Flame and Golems and stuff like that. But Waning Moon with a pretty strong board at this point. Defender of Argus pulled by Fizdarth. 7 cards in Fizdarth's deck. Where are his golems? Like, he's just been demanding them. Like, where are my golems? I need them. But honestly, I do feel that he's playing them, because if he is playing Warlock, I'd be really surprised if he isn't. So Black Knight does fall here. Fizdarth whittling away at Waning Moon's hit points, and Fizdarth's like, okay, I need to do something right now. I need to win this game as fast as possible. Waning Moon hovering over his own cards now, has to set up defensive. He can't really take care of that Azure Drake in one go, so looks like Cenarius is the play for him.
What to do? Who dares defy?
So setting up defensively, does Fizdarth have anything to get rid of that one? Well, yes, he does. He can Shadow Flame his own Defender of Argus, and that would take care of the Treants. And now Fizdarth, the path is open for his victory. Fizdarth will be moving on towards the semifinals. Waning Moon dropped out.